Good morning everybody and welcome to this new screencast for this week's Green Infrastructure and Sustainable Cities lecture. This week we'll be talking about how we govern, how we manage and how we create policy for green infrastructure using a variety of different examples from around the world. And this will highlight how different political, socio-economic and sort of environmental issues influence the way in which different stakeholders actually engage with GI. And this will be done through a number of different ways. Firstly, we'll talk about different locations. So we'll talk about the UK, we'll talk about other places around the world, some European, some more international, so India and China. And we'll talk about how policy formation at the international, the national, the regional, the local and sub-local and very local level are working, and how they work either independently or how they work together. We will also talk extensively about how different stakeholders are involved in this process. So we'll talk about government, we'll talk about business, we'll talk about local planning authorities, as well as the environment sector and the public. And to do this, we'll look at the ways in which different approaches to GI thinking work, and whether they are working at a national, a local or a sub-local level. So two examples here, one from the UK, one from Germany, and we'll talk about how different stakeholders actually engage with and have influence on this process. And we'll also use a variety of different examples, so two here on the right, so the Ely Country Park, a park in Cambridgeshire, and this play area was deemed to be very, very controversial because it took this very, very green open space and made it into a play area for kids. Also, the pathway was put in to allow people with pushchairs or wheelchairs to actually get up to the play area, and was deemed to be destroying the vista of the local area. And the picture at the bottom is the South Matty Riverfront, which we've already talked about. So within these images and this schema on the left, what we'll talk about is whether or not GI policy could be considered to cascade down from a big universal idea into something more appropriate and localized. We will look at who the people are who are involved and who's allowed to be involved. So again, we'll touch on issues of equity and the way in which politics frames the focus of delivery of green infrastructure. We'll also talk about whether or not GI is being integrated into the policy frameworks, and if so, how, and if not, why not. And this will look at the variation that we can see between locations, particularly between things like North America and Europe, and even within the UK itself, and how this actually impacts upon the ways in which policy is formed, and then the subsequent delivery of green infrastructure through either local planning authorities or other stakeholders. So we will look at whether this top-down approach, which we have normally in planning, or a more bottom-up approach is more relevant. And to do this, we will touch on things of financing and funding, so who funds these ideas and what are they doing, and how does that change over time. We'll look at how the different politics of different places might promote GI in some locations, be it Scandinavia, and maybe hinder its delivery in others, maybe it's parts of North America. And again, we'll use a number of different examples, be it the New York High Line, the Atlantic Belt Line, the Cambridge GI strategy, or even things like Ely Country Park to highlight some of these ideas. But overall, the lecture will talk about the structures and the processes that we go through, and the factors which influence the development and functionality and utility of GI policy. Okay, I hope that was useful, and I'll see you all on Thursday morning.